Hi, it's Marla Gold from Dog Care on Air. I'm here with Lola Michelin to talk to you about a map for dealing with doggy Alzheimer's. This engaging presentation introduces the use of various bodywork modalities in managing the symptoms of canine cognitive disorder, sometimes referred to as Sundowners Syndrome or doggy Alzheimer's. Canine cognitive disorder can rob older pets of valuable quality of life in their later years. This presentation explores the use of massage, acupressure, and Tui-Na in helping to support dogs face the challenges of this degenerative condition. So I want to introduce our presenter, Lola Michelin. I want to welcome you. Lola has been providing massage for over 30 years and founded the Northwest School of Animal Massage in 2001. She's a recognized authority on the topic and appears on radio and television shows nationwide. In addition to the school, she runs a private massage practice serving horses, dogs, people, and exotic species such as elephants, giraffes, and primates. When she isn't teaching or providing massage, she can most likely be found playing with her two Jack Russell Terriers, Stella and Izzy, riding her horse, Osso, or chasing and being chased by her miniature donkey, Seth. Welcome, Lola.
Thank you for having me, Marla. So happy to be here today with you.
So this is something that I think a lot of people are going to really benefit knowing about dealing with doggy Alzheimer's. I mean, our dogs they all age, right? It's a known fact. So
we hope.
Yeah, we age. So I'm really curious to see what you uncover in terms of knowledge that we can have, so that when our dogs approach that stage in their life, we have something that we can understand it by. Yeah. So let's start with what is canine cognitive disorder? And why do they call it?
Well, so I learned I'm sorry. Yeah, so I learned a lot about canine cognitive disorder, not just through my training and my work with my clients, but because my own dog, Gorilla, went through that in his later years. And so we did a lot of research to help with his final years. So CCD, which is commonly called CCD, is canine cognitive disorder. It goes by many names. Sometimes it's called canine cognitive syndrome or canine cognitive disease. It's also commonly called Doggy Alzheimer's or Sundowners Syndrome. And usually we see this in dogs that are 10 years or older. Around 12 years is a common time for people to start to recognize symptoms of CCD. It's basically dementia or cognitive decline. And it's as a result of deterioration of the nerve endings in the brain as a result of an accumulation of plaque, which is why it's often compared to Alzheimer's in humans. It looks a bit different for each animal, so it's not going to be a really definable disorder. The symptoms are going to be different depending on your pet and their progress. But the reason we sometimes refer to it as Sundowners Syndrome is because those cognitive declines tend to show up, or people tend to notice them kind of at the early parts of the day or later parts of the day, basically around dusk or dawn.
That is so interesting. And so what other characteristics present themselves that are typical in?
Yeah, there's mainly like 4 areas we look at for animals with canine cognitive disorder. Well, social changes, like they become more disoriented or they're not behaving their typical way when they're interacting with other dogs or people. They may seem confused. They don't recognize their people. We also see social changes. We also see sleep disturbances. So that's a big part of it, is they sleep at inappropriate times, but they don't sleep through the night, or they're more restless in the later hours. They may oversleep, or they're not sleeping enough. Loss of cognitive or loss of sensory experience, like they appear to be blind or deaf at different parts of the day or different times to different degrees. They may also experience decline in their hearing and their sight as well. And then also loss of function, mainly loss of like continence or loss of bowel function are often part of that dementia as well.
Don't all dogs develop dementia eventually?
Well, no, not really. Now, all dogs will age and be affected by age in different ways, but not all dogs will get dementia. Most dogs will have some sort of sensory loss, like loss of vision, loss of sight, or loss of vision, loss of hearing. But many dogs can adapt to that quite well and live long, fruitful years despite being blind or deaf. But the dementia is more the characteristic or the cornerstone of the CCD or this decline. So what most people will first notice is that beginning of the deterioration or disorientation in terms of the animal's ability to navigate. They'll get confused about where they are. They'll stand on the wrong side of the door to go out. They'll get stuck in the corner of a room and not be able to figure out how to back out. So, but not all dogs will develop dementia. There does seem to be some breed predilection, so certain breeds might be more prone to it, and there does seem to be some genetic or epigenetic disposition for it. So certain environments might trigger the genetic expression of this condition. But we don't want to assume that our dogs are going to naturally end up with canine cognitive disorder. Many of them will live long lives without having to experience dementia. And we don't want to assume that because our dogs do get dementia, that they can't still live very fruitful years. There's many things we can do to help them live those lives in a satisfactory way, even with some of the canine cognitive symptoms.
What can pet owners do to prevent CCD?
Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately, there are things we can do to prevent it. We know that CCD is caused by a buildup of plaque in the brain and deterioration of the nerve endings. So much like in humans, the reasons or causes for that to happen can be a very wide range, but in a lot of cases, things like making sure that your pet has a good diet that's free of pesticides or heavy metals like aluminum, that's a major contributor towards this problem. Making sure that their water source is free of contaminants, that's going to be really important in reducing the risk of your pet having CCD. So even as a young dog, making sure diet and water are from a good source is critical. Massage can be really beneficial even early on to help make sure that the nervous system is functioning well, and really to notice when we start seeing any signs of decline. Keeping your dogs active throughout their life, especially as they age, so providing a variety of stimuli like puzzles and games and social interaction, that's going to be really key to keeping them vital and keeping them thriving. There are a lot of also supplements available that can help with brain health, things like nitric acid supplements, things that help promote vitamin E, things that help promote good nerve function. Those should be discussed with your vet or a nutritionist to determine like dosage and whether it's appropriate, but a lot of those are going to really help to improve brain function and improve memory. One of the things I work with my clients a lot is teaching them some basic massage tools that they can use to help recognize changes in their pet's body and perception of things like touch. But also, I highly recommend journaling or having some way of recording your observations about your pets, because you might notice trends or patterns if you're writing them down more readily than you would if you're just kind of interacting with your dog on a day-to-day basis. Little things creep in, and if we're not really paying attention or writing those things down, we might not see the evolution of the problem. And of course, the sooner we can detect any change in their nervous function, the better we'll be able to manage this. Early detection is key. As a matter of fact, we offer a checklist for our clients and for our students through our website, where you can just tick things off as you go down this checklist to see how's my dog doing in these areas of their life.
Well, that's really useful. It reminds me of a story of a friend of mine who had a dog who actually had a brain tumor. And he would, especially in the wintertime, he would nuzzle his head into the snow and just go, run around in circles and nuzzle his head into the snow. And she thought, oh, it's so cute. His behavior was cute. It looked to be cute, but it was unusual from his normal behavior. And then he kept at it and kept at it. And eventually, she did take him to the vet because other things were happening. And they said, yeah, no, that's typical of there's something wrong in
Yeah,
that area. So I guess paying attention to behavior that may exhibit as being cute and maybe not,
right.
it's odd, but it's, oh, that's kind of a cute new thing that you're doing. It's out of the ordinary, so pay attention.
Yeah, journaling or even just, talking about your pet with your family members and your friends can really draw attention to those things sometimes because they do. Sometimes it's subtle or it is cute and we don't think that there might be an underlying reason, but CCD is not the only condition that benefits from that type of observation. Like you said, it might be really helpful if a dog is starting to show signs that they have cancer or signs that they have a brain tumor, or for me, it was really impactful to journal for my pet who had epilepsy. So being able to kind of know, how often is he having a seizure? What happens before and after a seizure? I mean, seizures aren't a symptom of CCD per se, but it is another example of where knowing your pet's normal behavior and then being able to detect when things are out of normal for them can really help you with managing conditions like this.
Love it.
None of us like to watch our pets age, but it's really important to kind of see how they're aging so that we can make it a better journey for them.
And once your pet has been diagnosed with CCD, then what's the best way to manage it?
You bet. Yeah. So your vet may prescribe certain medications that will help stabilize your pet, things to help address incontinence, for instance, which is a common concern for pet owners, and things that will help prolong their life. We used 2 products when we had a dog with Doggy Alzheimer's that we found to be really, really helpful. One of them is called Cell Advance 880, and it does help with nitric oxide production in the brain. It helps with brain function, and it slows down the degradation of the nerve endings. And also a product called MSM, which many people are familiar with. They might use it themselves for joint care or for their pets for joint care. It's often combined with other things like glucosamine and chondroitin, but it can be given individually. And I'm not a veterinarian, so I can't prescribe or diagnose, but these are things that were useful in my practice, and they're definitely things I tell my clients to discuss with their vet if their animal is having problems, because MSM can be a really powerful medication for a lot of reasons, or supplementation, but they'll need to know what dosage is appropriate for their pet. There's also, nowadays there's a lot of CBD products available for pets and specially formulated for pets, and they can really help with the restlessness and some of the perceived discomfort of CCD. One of the things that's really nice about, or not nice, but at least as a pet owner, I can take some comfort in the fact that CCD is not typically a painful condition. Our pets aren't experiencing a lot of discomfort. They're just disoriented or losing some of their function. But if they have the right support, they can still be very comfortable. So we may not be worrying about managing pain per se, just nerve function. And vitamin E, natural vitamin E, not synthetic, is also something that can be useful in promoting good nerve function. So again, I can't undervalue the benefit of journaling about your pet's activity and their energy levels. That's going to help you in making decisions about their management from a day-to-day basis, but also over time. There's also things you can do in your home that are going to help comfort your dog and relieve some of those problems that we see with the disorientation that comes with dementia. So for instance, some things that some people have found helpful is using mats, like yoga mats or something textured around the house. I put them in the common pathways so that my dog can find their way from the door to the yard or from their food bowl to their bed through touch, rather than having to rely on their cognition or their sight or their hearing. Making sure, like, probably if your dog is experiencing dementia, not a great time to remodel or bring in new furniture, move things around or change things a lot. Let them enjoy their routine. That will help them during their more cognitive moments. I'll use essential oils or certain odors to, again, give them a sense of where they're at. We also used like bright colored tape on the front of our areas of the house where they had to like either step up or down to navigate, so that they could see that step coming up. And this might sound really strange, but it's also really important to make sure to keep their skin healthy. So that's where massage comes in. A lot of the massage techniques, Tui-Na, really helps support the health of the skin. And you might be thinking, well, why is skin important for an animal with dementia? But, you know, skin and your brain are derived from the exact same tissues in the embryo. So when the puppy is developing and the tissues are separating or differentiating, the brain and the skin have the same primitive cells. So one way to think about it is your skin is your outermost surface of your brain. So if you're dealing with a neurological condition like dementia, healthy skin is critical. It's also really important because it is the dog's first line of defense against any kind of pathology. So your older pets, they're more susceptible to bacteria, to pathogens, and you don't want your CCD dog also fighting off bacterial infections or other types of infections, because it just weakens their overall immune health. So that's where regular routine massage or learning massage for your pet is going to be really valuable in maintaining their health. That was a lot.
Good to know. Good information. I mean, what stood out for me was that the senses of the scent and the touch become more predominant, and then how to adapt your home or the way that the dog is moving within his living space or her living space, and encourage that instead of them being afraid to move. And
and you bring up a great point that I didn't mention, is that, you know, if they are losing certain skills, maybe they are losing their hearing or their sight, other senses might become more acute. So, you know, and this is helpful even if it's not related to dementia. If you have a dog who's blind, they're also going to be probably have really strong sense of hearing, but they might be easily startled by loud noises, or you might have to maintain an environment that's a little more soothing for them, or depend on, you know, giving them signals through, you know, a lot of people teach their dog hand signals at the same time that they're training them, so that later in life, if your dog can't hear you, you can still communicate.
That's great. One of my good friends had a dog. The dog was getting older, and she was deaf and blind. And so they were using a lot of this. They realized, I mean, sort of with trial and error, that scent was the predominant, you know, it was predominant for her. So with treats or with just, you know, the scent of somebody's body, like their perfume or their cologne, like she could identify that person. It was amazing.
Yeah. And again, that might be where you really want to try to make sure that even the smells in your house have some familiarity and routine. You don't like change it up too much and then they can't, you know, rely on something.
And the dog's noses are going all the time, right? I mean, they're very sensitive to smell, are they not? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Their sense of smell is so much more acute than ours. I mean, thousands and thousands of times more acute than ours. And different breeds have, you know, better sense of smell than others. I mean, obviously, if you have a hound dog in your home, you probably know that. So the beagle owners are acutely aware of their pet sense of smell.
Absolutely. So, so what does CCD look like in like, how would I recognize it if it appeared in my pet?
Yeah, it can be challenging because aging, a lot of conditions associated with aging look similar to CCD, but they may not necessarily be CCD. So the most common things that owners report is that their dogs suddenly or gradually seem disoriented at times. They don't recognize them. So you come home and your pet doesn't come out to greet you, or when they see you, they're maybe initially barking at you, or they're surprised. They don't seem to recognize you the way they did. Or at times they seem to be blind or deaf and become restless or really easily agitated. But at other times of the day, they're behaving perfectly normal. So those kind of differences during the different times of the day and that disorientation is a key marker of this condition. In some cases, as I mentioned, dogs will walk into a corner of a room and seem to be unable to know that they could just back up to get out of that situation. So you might find your dog stuck under a chair or stuck in a corner or just, in a position where they don't seem to be able to get themselves out of that situation. One positive note, as I mentioned, is that dogs with CCD are generally not experiencing physical pain, but they may sometimes seem particularly hypersensitive to your touch or anticipating something being uncomfortable. This is more a cognitive issue than an actual painful issue. And only a veterinarian can positively diagnose CCD. And even then, it's largely based on their observation and discussion with you. So the more information you have when talking with your veterinarian, the better diagnosis they can make about the severity or the stage of the condition. It's a complex disorder. Each dog is going to present uniquely, so their management is going to be unique as well. What's going to work for one dog in helping them with this condition is maybe not going to work for the next dog. But definitely the 4 classic areas to watch are changes in social behavior, changes in bowel or urinary habits. They start having accidents in the house or, going to the bathroom at unusual times, changes in sleep pattern. That's a huge signal, and apparent loss of sensory skills. Those are the things we're looking for.
And one of the techniques of massage that you use is Tui-Na. Could you tell us how that affects a dog that has CCD?
Sure. So Tui-Na is a branch of traditional Chinese medicine. It's commonly called Chinese medical massage. The reason I like it with the CCD patients is it's a very, very gentle form of massage. So this probably isn't the time in your dog's life when you want to be doing any kind of deep tissue muscle work, but it could be really helpful if you're doing lighter, more impactful types of massage like Tui-Na. It is similar in some ways to Swedish massage because it's a series of strokes or ways of applying hand pressure that move energy along the acupressure meridians. So in traditional Chinese medicine, we think of a meridian as a channel in the body that carries energy to the tissues and the organs and helps support function. And Tui-Na is designed to help distribute that energy more evenly or deliver it to the areas of the body where it's stagnant or deficient. So things like there's a whole language around Tui-Na. There's the Chinese names for Tui-Na, but there's techniques like rubbing, we call mofa, or kneading, or what they refer to as pushing energy, which is Tui-Fa, where you're just, Tui-Na actually means push and pull. So the name itself is massage related. It helps in CCD cases because it stimulates acupressure points along these meridians and helps balance things. So of course, the animal's out of balance. You want to do things that can help to introduce some balance potentially. And it's nice because it is working on both the physical functions of the body, liver, kidney, lungs, things that help eliminate wastes or deal with toxins, but it also helps with the emotional body as well. So the disorientation, the anguish, the confusion. I can give you kind of a quick example of a Tui-Na technique that people can use pretty easily, and that's to just run your hands along either side of the spine, starting at the base of your dog's neck, and just traveling to not directly on the spine, not on the bone, but just like lay your hand alongside the spine, and starting at the base of your dog's neck, you just go down their back, down their hindquarters, and then down the back leg to the paw. So you're going kind of down the back of the hind leg. And if you do that using either the heel of your hand, so you're pushing gently, or just your fingertips, so you're just sweeping along. You can do that 2 or 3 times down each side of their body. Is a really nice way to balance out what we call the bladder meridian, which has points along it that are associated with each of the organ systems. So there's your Tui-Na 101.
Hey everybody, let's get our dogs. Let's get our dogs. Let's get them relaxing. Love it.
you want, I can grab Izzy and demonstrate it so that you have a visual of it, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
that would be great. That would be great.
Okay, so I hopefully can get her in the picture here. This is actually Stella. She's our Jack Russell.
Hi, Stella.
She's not very old. She's only 5, so she doesn't have it, but she loves massage and Tui-Na. So I'm gonna see if I can get her in front of the camera here. Maybe if I back up a little bit. Hold her this way. There we go.
Yeah, that's great.
You can see her?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So I'm gonna use the heel of my hand, just like right here on the edge. And I'm just gonna press gently right behind her neck. And then I'm gonna slide down her spine, all the way down the back of her leg, all the way to her toe. Yes, there's a cat outside. So. Or you can just use your fingers and just sweep, 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 sweep down the legs to the toe. Slow, light pressure. Oh, goodness. And you can do that 3 times.
That looks great. She's so used to that. She's like, Mom, you do that on me all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Go get that cat.
Way more interested in what's going on outside the window than what's going on here.
Okay, so can you talk to us about vestibular incidents and if they're similar to CCD?
Oh, sure. So vestibular incidents are different than canine cognitive disorder. They're similar in that they both affect older dogs. Vestibular incidents usually occur sometime after 12 years of age, and CCD symptoms often show up after 10 years of age. But they are different. Vestibular incidents are very similar to vertigo in humans. So they cause a loss of balance. In dogs, typically what we see is they'll have a head tilt and they'll circle. They'll walk in circles. Some people mistake a vestibular incident for a stroke. So it is an acute onset. So it happens suddenly. The dog will sometimes be nauseated, so they may vomit or seem, really their stomach is upset. Whereas CCD is kind of gradual onset of the symptoms we've talked about. Now you could have a dog who has both. So you could have a dog that has canine cognitive disorder and begins to have vestibular incidents, but vestibular problems are inner ear problems, right? So they're dealing with the balance of the body, balance mechanism of the body. And with vestibular incidents, once a dog has one, they're more prone to have them again. So immediate attention is critical. The sooner you can get your dog to a veterinarian after a vestibular incident, the better, and the more likely you'll be able to get better recovery from some of the symptoms. And massage is a critical tool for vestibular incidents because that head tilt can cause all sorts of muscle tension. And that can be a permanent deficit for dogs, whereas if they get massage and they get worked shortly after the incident, they may recover some of that mobility. CCD, like I say, you're going to see it over time more, not at once.
That's really good to know. And can you talk to us about quality of life in pets? Quality of life?
Such a tough question, but really important one. So quality of life means different things to different people. So it's a discussion that everyone in the household should be involved in. Because if you have multiple people who care for the dog or are involved with the dog's life, they should have a say in what quality of life means for them, and so should the dog, right? For some, quality of life means the dog having its own dignity, maintaining dignity. So being able to do all of its own functions itself and not feeling like it's needing supplemental support. While to others, it might be about resources and who's available and willing to provide special care for a pet in their decline. So journaling helps, again, to kind of recognize patterns and get people's feelings about am I willing to express my dog's bladder on a regular basis, several times a day? Are we willing to have to experiment with all different kinds of food, and is it even an option? If they're not eating one thing one day, they might eat it the next day. So there could be a lot of care and management that's needed that may not always be possible for different households. Scoring your days can help you with defining quality of life, meaning if you know there's certain activities, there's certain things you want your pet to be able to do to live, to thrive, then you could score days based on those activities. And a day that's a 1 might be a day where the dog can do very little on their own. And a day that's a 5 might be, that's a great day. He did everything. He's peeing on his own. He's pooing on his own. He's playing with his toys. He's hungry. He's, paying attention to the cat. Whereas a day 1 might be like, he didn't even get out of bed today. We had to express his bladder. He's not eating. And then I, with my dog, we kept a calendar. And so every day we would just score his day. And we just agreed, if there's 10 days in a row that are 2 or less, we have to start talking about how we're going to manage this, right? So I think it's a conversation better had sooner than later. And then be flexible because it could change. Quality of life could change. You might today say, like, if we have to, express his bladder and help him defecate and force feed him, that's too much for us. But 3 weeks later, everybody in the house might be saying, you know what, we can do that. Let's do that. So it's a conversation to have early and often, I think. Pain is a huge key. Increasing pain can be a determinant for most people. And also whether or not the pet becomes a risk to their own safety. Disorientation can express itself in many ways. Some pets just get scared, and other pets might actually start to bite themselves or be aggressive. And so that could be, for some people, kind of a deal killer, right? Knowing what you're willing and able to manage can help you define what quality of life means for your pet and for you.
That's a really hard one to answer, So that's a hard one for people and maybe to hear too, right?
Absolutely.
If you've never lost a pet, it's not easy. Yeah.
That's right. And older pets, watching our pets age is hard, but it's also such a gift. Like, having older pets is so magical and so wonderful. And even the tough stuff, you don't think you're going to want to face that tough stuff, but sometimes doing the tough stuff is really what brings you close to that animal, right? And I love massaging older pets. I love working with people with older pets and going to their home and being with them and their pets during that time in their life, because those older dogs are so wise and they're so fun and they're just so cute and adorable. And dementia can kind of be cute and goofy at times too, when they're doing things that you're like, what are you doing? So it can be sad, but you also have to look for those moments of all that joy that you're having with that dog as they age, and being able to be there with them is really a gift.
And that's a wonderful perspective to have. Absolutely. And can pet owners learn massage techniques that'll help with their pets that have CCD?
Absolutely. So I highly recommend working with a professional therapist. If your dog has been diagnosed with CCD, they're going to have more information, more options, and resources for you, and they'll help you develop a program for your dog, which could include teaching you basic massage that you can do in between sessions. But I would recommend having a therapist that you're working with at least once a month, maybe twice a month, whatever timing is appropriate for your pet and you, and then they're going to give you things to do in between. We also, at our school, we offer a free online introductory class to massage and acupressure. It's a great way to kind of get some information about how massage can help your pet at any age or stage of life. So that's a good place to start. There's lots of videos and books out there, but we also have basic classes for pet owners where they can come for a day or two and learn. Sometimes we offer classes like this, our MAP classes, massage and acupressure protocols, that are dealing with specific conditions like arthritis, or in this case, canine cognitive disorder. So massage is going to be a really valuable management tool for these dogs, along with acupressure and other types of therapies.
How wonderful. And that you offer this free online course. I hope everybody takes advantage of this. and yeah, I'm going to. I'm definitely going to. When CCD gets too hard to manage, we talked about what to do and what signs to look for and how to, but when it gets too hard to manage, what are people's options? What do you
Right.
recommend?
Yeah, so discussing all the options with your therapist and your vet is going to empower you and others in your household to make the right decisions at the best time. And you do not want to make hard decisions under duress if you can avoid it. So, like I said before, having these conversations or looking at what all the options are for down the road is best done early, so that you have ways to adjust your plan as things go. So what are options? Well, hospice care is an option. Some people do offer hospice care, and that might mean, hospice care in dogs is not quite the same as it is when we're talking about humans, but it could just mean having a hospice care individual that comes during the day while you're at work to manage your dog for you, to make sure they're eating, to express their bladder if needed, to get them outside. So you could have arrangements for hospice care for your pet in its later days. That's going to take a lot of pressure off of you. It also, I had a friend whose dog, it was due to a brain tumor, but declined very quickly, and she just didn't want to be the one to have to give her dog medication or force a pill down her or force feed her. So I would go and do those things for her, so that all the time that she had with her pet was just about cuddling and holding her and taking her for walks and doing any of the things they wanted to do together without having to do any of the other things that were important but not pleasant. So it may be coordinating that. It may be coordinating those types of activities with your household. So somebody's responsible for it on certain days but not other days. So everybody gets a break, right? Fostering your pet. So if you cannot manage the care of your pet any longer, some people might be, maybe it's someone who's elderly themselves or has disabilities themselves that don't allow them to do certain things. There may be people who will foster your pet in its final days, and then you can schedule visits and they can bring the pet to you at times, but they can be responsible for the primary care. That's probably not a real common option, but it is out there. And then, of course, we have to also be aware that euthanasia might be a decision that's on the horizon. We all hope that our pets will maybe just pass peacefully when the time comes on their own, or that they'll tell us when it's time. You'll hear a lot of people say, well, your pet will let you know. And that's great if it happens that way, but I wouldn't rely on it. I would have something in place, a system in place to help you make the hard decision if you're faced with it. Because especially an animal who has a dementia, they have a mental decline, they have a neurological decline, they may not be communicating with you the way they once did. They may not be behaving in ways that are normal, that give you the tools to say, wow, this is not a good situation, or, oh, today's a good day. So you have to have ways of making tough decisions that don't rely on your pet giving you the information. So I would say, in my experience, having that plan makes making a hard decision a little bit easier. And euthanasia, nobody wants to talk about it, but honestly, mercy is the greatest gift we can offer a pet who has given us the best years of their life. And having a plan for that, knowing what you want for your pet in its final moments on this earth, on this in this phase, like what they're going on to next, we have this opportunity to have that final moment with them. And that could mean creating a home-based euthanasia that allows you to have the people closest to your pet with you. It could be, massage therapists like myself are often present at a final ceremony for a pet so that we can provide that final massage and be there with the owner. A lot of veterinarians will come in home to provide that service. Or maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you don't want to be present, but you want to assign somebody that responsibility for you when the time comes. So, ideally your pet has a familiar there with them, somebody they know. And then just know what you're going to need for support afterwards, because there are many, many resources out there for ways for us to remember our pets. We, at our farm, we hang a chime in the trees every time an animal passes. And then we have that there always. I know somebody that does, prayer flags, or just having something that's going to help you remember, making sure that you have taken pictures of your pet during this time of their life has been such a comfort to me, to be able to look at my pet at all stages of his life, including those last days, or even in his older years, when that gray muzzle, sometimes looking at that picture is what brings me comfort. So doing those types of things so that you're ready. Not an easy discussion, not an easy decision, but one that I think is a gift that we can give them with good heart.
Thank you for speaking to that. Thank you. Thank you for all of the knowledge that you've imparted on us about how to understand CCD, and if it does actually come up in our pets, and what to do. I think it's really important to have that information to prepare for it. And when you're prepared, like you say, you can have a wonderful relationship with your pet into their final years.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for the opportunity. I have enjoyed talking with and remembering. It's a little bit of a journey down memory lane for me, and I'm sure I'll probably face it again. And just happy to be able to share information, and hope if anybody out there is on this journey, that they know that there's lots of resource support out there for dealing with canine cognitive disorder and other age-related conditions.
So how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. Well, we would encourage you to visit our website, nwsam.com. There are the free introductory classes there, so you can take an introduction to animal massage, animal acupressure, or aromatherapy at the website. Also, if you call our toll-free number, you can talk with somebody at our offices if you have questions about our programs or questions about your dog. And anybody who heard about us through Dog Care on Air, if you mention the program, you can receive a 10% discount on a course as well. So we love to talk to people about their animals and their concerns, so we hope you'll take a moment to call or visit our website.
Thank you, Lola. I really appreciate this. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Dog Care on Air. And we will see you online very soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, Marla.